Welcome in to those who are just now joining. I haven't been on for a little while, so I'm going to do a live again, try to get back into the routine. Actually, I think I've only, feel like I've only missed one. Have I missed more than one? I feel like I've only missed this coming Wednesday. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for showing appreciation for the lives, and that you, I guess, missed the lives. So I appreciate that. It's been kind of a weird period of time for me with TikTok and all those things. So I'm trying to just get back in the swing of things and start making this a regular. If somebody wants to join me on the live, you can send a request or something like that, and we'll see about maybe working somebody else in. Yeah, and I post these, I do post the recordings of the lives on YouTube. I don't know if you ever watch those after the fact if you miss one, but I have done that. So I don't really have a super topic for tonight. It's been kind of slow it certainly has been slow in the Luigi world. It hasn't been necessarily slow in the P. Diddy world. And there is connections between those two cases in some weird ways. Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, Devil's Advocates, that I post all the lives to. I've also done more full analysis of the timeline at that website, as well as I think a couple of other content that I haven't put on TikTok. Sorry. So thanks for checking that out if you do, and give us a subscribe over there if you're willing. And wow, my hair's all like funkied up and weird and shit tonight. But anyways, yeah, if you wouldn't mind giving us a like and a follow over there, that would be amazing as well. We're trying to get our platform built, and we're having problems. We also have been reaching out with Patreon to set up some content that they don't allow us to talk about here. But Patreon flagged me on account creation for suspicious activity, and they asked for a whole bunch of personal information about me, which I gave them, and they haven't responded back. It's been a day and a half, and I don't know what it is that they saw suspicious. I have a feeling it could have been simply because I was registering for their site using a VPN, and maybe they saw the VPN as suspicious. But anyways, we're trying to work out Patreon. We're trying to work out our platforms. Either that or something that happened at TikTok follows us. One of the weird things that Patreon asked was what other social media platforms I'm on and the links to all my profiles. And I'm like, why the hell would you even ask that? Like, what relationship does Patreon have with TikTok or YouTube or anything like that? Why would you need to know all the social media platforms I use? That was a weird question. It makes you wonder, is there a national database somewhere of people that they are watching and paying attention to? That sounds absolutely nuts, right? Doesn't that sound nuts? But I'm just like, why would you ask me all the other social media platforms I'm on and links to my profiles when I'm just trying to register for Patreon, and Patreon has nothing to do that I know of with TikTok or Google or any of those places, but whoever. Oh yeah, we got character analysis. Let's get character analysis on. Oh, maybe I can. I don't know if I hit it. I thought I hit the invite, but I don't know if that worked. Thanks for loving my backdrop, my meditative sloth, which was thrown up last minute. My wife helped me pin it up on the wall, but it's kind of not centered exactly, and it's not down low enough where you can see his face. If I have it down too low, then it looks like his arms, which are out hanging on a tree, look like horns on my head, which may or may not be a good thing. But thank you for the backdrop. I have two kind of psychedelic looking, kind of like, I shouldn't even say that fucking word. I shouldn't even say that word. Anyways, I have two kind of like interesting tapestries. One is kind of an Alice in Wonderland, and one is this sloth. Although tonight, by the way, I did do something different with this live. I marked it as adults only, or 18 over. So maybe I'll get a little leeway. Maybe they won't restrict me mid-live by saying that my content's being restricted. And maybe all they've been doing when they're Stella, hey, welcome. Maybe all they've been doing when they restrict me is just making it so that I'm not seen by children. So thank you so much for the gifts and the visits. It's good seeing you all again, by the way. I haven't done this for at least one night. I don't know if I missed 2 nights, but I had somebody reach out to me privately and say that, hey, are you going to keep doing your lives or not? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think anybody would even notice I was gone. So I feel comforted and warmed that somebody gives a rip whether or not I'm doing my lives or not, and I will now make an effort to be doing lives more often and hopefully come with better content. It's been a busy week for me. And so, yeah, it's been a busy week for me, and so I'm just kind of hanging on by a thin thread. If you got any topics you want to talk about, any questions that you have on your mind, please throw them out there. Or if you want to take the mic with me and talk to me about something, I'm in the mood for sharing the microphone with somebody. If you want to do that as well. So thanks for sharing the live, by the way, and helping us get some attention out there. Thank you about the timeline. I really appreciate that. I'm so far behind on my own timeline. There's extra stuff I want to add. I also am trying to figure out what I should remove from the timeline, because I feel like the timeline's a little daunting for people. It's got so much information on it, a lot of which may not be relevant or is less relevant today than it was when I first started making the content. So, if you've got suggestions for cleaning up my timeline, let me know. By the way, if you haven't seen, I did on YouTube start doing a part 1 and part 2 of my timeline review, where I'm doing a whole audio recording of why things are on my timeline and talking about it in very big detail. I put more of an official, I'm working on my presentation and my professionalism, so I put more of a professional bumper in front and behind my talking about the timeline. So I'm working on that as well, trying to hone some editing skills and get better. I'm still so amateurish. My buddy's really the marketing kind of guy who's good at that stuff and good at graphics and video production, but he's even busier than I am right now. So I have to kind of do it on myself. And I thought, well, if I suck for a while, the good news is we only have a small following and not a lot of people will see it. And what's the best way to get better at something is start doing it and figure out how to do it. Thank you, by the way, again, for the gifts that are coming in. That's super, super helpful. We have not really had a lot of gifts, so I really appreciate it. And we already have 1,000 likes very early, so thank you very much. So, what do we got going on tonight? Anything on your mind? I know that the Luigi story, which a lot of people have followed my account because of Luigi, is kind of on a stalemate. Mostly because we haven't had the next court appearance and there hasn't been a new documentary put out about him, so there hasn't been a lot to talk about. P. Diddy is taking center stage for my brain at the moment because the big special on P. Diddy's coming out, a 4-part series on investigation discovery. And I was following P. Diddy before the Luigi case. I realize again that those who follow devil's advocates are probably more interested in the Luigi case. And I am also not any less interested in the Luigi case than I was when I started. It's just that we need to kind of diversify a little bit and not just talk about Luigi when Luigi's story at the moment dried up. And yes, I shouldn't say completely dried up. I could be going through all kinds of evidence and reading it further and getting more details that I could bring out. But yeah, nothing new has really come out as far as anything substantial. There's a lot of stuff that I could comment on that are more rumors and speculation, and I'm trying to avoid too much rumors and speculation. And I don't know if you know the difference between when I tell you I have a question about whether there are multiple conspirators, which sounds like it's pure speculation, and other things that I won't speculate on. And maybe you don't understand, maybe people don't understand my headspace on why I chase one rabbit hole and not another. I guess I have kind of like a sense for what's going to pan out to be important or not, and I tend to follow the things I think are going to be important. The fact that there hasn't been any evidence seems a little more telling, don't you think? I don't know, really, to be honest with you. I think that there's a level of hey, I got some. I was trying to scroll text and I invited somebody to the mic. Let's see how this goes. Hey, Tulip.
How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
I thought it might have been an accident. I'm well. Sorry, I just came in.
I was just scrolling up on my thing and I'm like, oh, look, I just invited somebody to join me.
I'm a bit of a regular here.
Cool.
Are you talking about Luigi or something else today?
I'm open to talk about anything. We were talking about how the Luigi case was a little quiet right now, and somebody indicated in the chat that they thought that was interesting in itself, that it's quiet. And I was basically starting to say, I'm not sure if it tells us too terribly much. I mean, we are in the stage now where both the prosecution and the defense are building their case and are about to go into discovery to make sure that they can prove that there is enough evidence, which I'm sure there is enough evidence, but I don't know that the quiet front right now is unexpected at this moment.
No, I did see an interesting take by, I think his name is David Betrus. He's a lawyer who's been covering it. You seen his content? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good. Hey, he's good value. He was saying that he is surprised because all of the sort of ballistics and DNA and sort of things would be finished now. He was surprised that they hadn't leaked it if they had something, you know? And
Right.
I've mentioned this in your comments before, is I think that they would have been, I don't know, not great with evidence collection in this case. I think they're going to have chain of custody issues. I think there's going to be contamination issues. I think there's going to be all sorts of holes that can be poked in the evidence.
Yeah, right. And yeah, let me get back to that in a second. Lauren, yeah, everybody's giving you the answer. February 17th, as far as I know, is the next court date. Yeah, I've been watching Betris as well. In fact, I wanted him to come on the show, and I realized he probably wouldn't. We did have a little bit of a private chat over messages and TikTok, and he told me that my questions. This is the sad part. So I had a small conversation with him, and it was awesome that he took time out of his very busy schedule to talk. But he said that my questions were great questions, but he didn't think people care about those kind of questions. He says, I think you're one of the rare people who ask those kind of questions, and most people don't ask those questions. And I was asking questions about jury nullification, about hung juries and stuff like that. And he's like, those are really good questions, but I don't think anybody cares about that. And I'm like, I beg to differ, man. Like, I would love you to come on, because I think the people who are listening to my channel would love to hear you talk about those things. I mean, they'd love to hear him talk about it, period. But he didn't think that my questions were the typical question. So,
Oh, really? That's interesting.
yeah, I
Because
thought that was
they're the
interesting
things
as
I'm
well.
interested in as well. Like, we
Yeah.
all want to see Luigi get off the well, I presume most people want to see Luigi get off the charges.
Yeah, and see, and that's where David Betris is maybe a little less in that camp, right? Because he's repeatedly making the statement that if he did this, then there's no excuse for that, and violence is not the action, and he should go to jail. And so, whereas I think there's a large portion of the population who are saying even if he did it, I hope he gets off, right? And so David Betris is, if I can't remember if it's David, but Betris is definitely not in the camp of if he did it, he should go free. His take has been, I'm not sure he did it, and I'm not sure they can prove it. So, it's interesting.
Well, he is a lawyer, you know, he has to sort of toe the line of
Yeah,
the legal system works the
right,
way that it should.
right.
I'm a little bit concerned. Look, I don't want to maybe bring that to this discussion, but there's some interesting things happening in the legal system at the moment, and it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts both Diddy and Luigi's case,
Right.
particularly with Eric Adams, because I've seen some talk, there's been some theories, I don't know that I really buy into this all that much, that Trump will pardon Eric Adams.
Yeah, yeah. And somebody's asked too whether or not Trump can pardon Luigi. Of course, he can pardon anybody.
Oh,
Any
he
president,
would
any
never.
president can pardon somebody. But I don't know that I've seen anything yet, and I'm not saying it's not true because I don't know. I don't think I've seen anything yet that there's even a thought on Trump's mind to pardon Eric Adams. Have you seen any indication that he's thinking about doing that?
I personally haven't, but I've seen people talking about it and making that sort of assumption. And there was some people saying that like this was like the perp walk and Eric Adams participating in that was him sort of like auditioning for, Trump to say he's going to toe the line in New York. Oh, there you go. Someone said, I don't know how true that is, if he went to Mar-a-Lago or not, but I have heard some people discussing it, so we'll see, I guess.
I've been hesitant to do this, but it's a slow night. I had one of the craziest movie how do I say it? Movie worthy plot twists that I thought up in my head, and I'm like, and I immediately rejected it. I'm saying that's ridiculous. It's way too complicated. Occam's razor, all that stuff. But I said, what if Luigi Mangione was a professional hitman? What if that was the case? Like maybe he was a professional. And what if he took the fall purposely to get in where Diddy's at, because his ultimate goal is to take out Diddy. And then we had all these stories coming out on the news about how Diddy's pissed off at Luigi because he's getting more attention. And it turns out that Diddy's lawyer is married to Luigi's lawyer. And what if the two of them happened to make a mistake and got the two of them in the same room together? And then Diddy attacks Luigi and Luigi kills him, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, I guess shit happens. He was just upset, and we're like, or did he get put in to get next to? And I'm like, that's crazy. That's movie worthy, totally interesting, but not realistic.
It would be fun for the plot, like where we're at in the society is kind of, it's kind of interesting. I really feel like our social relations are starting to break down in a serious way.
Yeah,
And like in Australia, I'm in Australia, things aren't looking too great for our social relations here. I actually went to law school in Australia, and our criminal justice system is quite different to, I'm not a lawyer though, just FYI everyone. But our criminal justice system is really quite different to the US. It's kind of interesting to watch all of this unfold.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I've
the
had
federal
people ask
charges, oh,
me.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you go ahead. Sorry,
Oh, I
I
was just saying, I've had people ask me before if I'm a lawyer or if I am in law because I have a lot of opinions about how the legal system works and what stage we're in and what's going to happen next. And I've repeatedly said, no, I'm not a lawyer. In fact, that's why I wanted, Betris to come on here because as a lawyer who's a little bit more sympathetic than, say, others, that maybe he could come in and answer some legitimate questions people have. And that's why I was hoping to get him on. But.
Yeah, it's a shame because he's a lawyer himself. Hey, I'd say he's gotten maybe a bit of work out of this as well. Honestly,
Right.
um, I am really what I was going to say just a moment ago is I'm really curious how the federal charges are going to pan out because it's my opinion as a citizen of the world that the feds don't have jurisdiction and they're relying on the stalking charges to create that jurisdiction, but they're not going to meet the tests for the stalking charges. Because one of the tests, the legal tests to make out that claim, that cause of action, charge, whatever, is that they need to prove that the victim was aware that he was being stalked and he was scared of his life as a result of that stalking. And that's not something the state's going to be able to make out.
Right. Right.
So I wonder,
Um,
and when I say the state, I mean the federal government. I just use nation state
Right. Yes,
language
I
because,
understand. Yeah,
yeah,
and in this case, it's kind of confusing because there is a state and there's a federal side of it. But
yeah.
I would like to say for the few people who in here have indicated that you would like to see David Betris and I on a live together, maybe let him know somehow that you're interested. Like I said, he was super polite to me when I reached out to him. I made a comment that I'm just small fish and he probably wouldn't want to spend time with me. And he's like, "You're not a small fish, and I don't mind spending time with you at all." So he's not against the idea. He seems like a super nice guy. I think he would trust that I'm not gonna just like put him in some kind of weird awkward position. But so anyways, if you'd like to see us together, maybe drop him a line that you're interested. He knows I'm interested, so might help.
Yeah, he seems like a really lovely dude, hey, like a genuine sort of person.
But he also seems like he's super busy, right? Because although he's taken time to do TikTok and he's taken time to do lives of his own. I haven't been on any of his lives, but he does it. So he's obviously making time outside of his busy, court schedule to make time for TikTok. So
Yeah, I've not caught any of his lives actually either. I mean, that's probably because of the time difference. It's like 10 a.m. here, and I suppose it's nighttime for you.
yeah, it is. Yeah, 6 o'clock in the evening for me. Thanks for the gifts, by the way, Rogue, and everybody for that's helping out with this, getting us the likes and stuff like that. Really appreciate that. But yeah, it's pretty early in the evening for me, and I understand that like for a lot of East Coasters in the U.S., it's getting to be 9 o'clock, and so I've been trying to figure out the best time to go live. I do work right now. I'll be working for about another week and a half, and then I'm going to be home all the time, so I can change my live schedule to something that's more convenient for people if I need to. But
Nice. Well, I really enjoy your content and I will continue to listen in the comments, but I'll let you go. Lovely chatting to you, accidentally coming up here. But
yeah, I'm so sorry that I just hit it without like making. Hopefully, you're okay with coming on. I appreciate
oh
having
no,
some.
it was lovely to come up. I would have rejected the invitation if it had been,
And I really
if it had
appreciate
been a
you supporting
problem.
us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Talk to you soon, I'm sure, in the comments. Have a great
Okay,
afternoon,
perfect.
evening.
Thank you. All right, what else do we got on the East Coast? This is a good time too. Yeah, so the 6 o'clock time works for me really well, whether or not I'm working or not. And I did have some individuals that were indicating that They couldn't make it this late, but then I put it on YouTube and they've been watching it on YouTube, so that's been very cool. So I was in New York City at the same time as Lulu. Wish I stayed at the hostel instead of my hotel. Yeah, it's quite a phenomenon we have going on with this whole situation. I had wondered, by the way, with the lack of news and the lack of new information about Luigi, whether or not interest was going to start to wane. Like, because there's an argument amongst some, right, that the government purposely or media is purposely wanting to keep everything hush hush because they're tired of American sentiment. They're tired of people acting like he's some kind of freaking hero. And so the best way to do that is to focus on everything else but Luigi. And so I wonder if that's, is that working? Is the silence and the no new information and no new documentary making people calm down at all and get bored and move on to something else? Because, we have a short attention span. That's why we have TikTok in the first place. But yeah, I'm just waiting for big news to drop. Anything to drop for that matter. I mean, like I said, I've been seeing rumors. I've been having things that come up from time to time that are intriguing, but not enough for me to want to really put backing behind it. Again, let me give you one example. A lot of you may have seen. There's a video that's been put out on TikTok, and everybody keeps sending it to me. By the way, every one of you who sends me private messages with links to videos or data or whatever that you think might be important for my research, super, super appreciate it. But there's a video that keeps getting sent to me all the time about how this is how Luigi did it. And it's somebody on an e-bike making the actual trip, proving that the timeline works, right? So then you have all these people who are saying it is absolutely impossible for him to have done what they say he did. It can't be done. And now everybody's sending me a video saying, yes, it can be done. And here's somebody who did it. They got an e-bike. They recorded themselves doing it. The whole trip is timed in a certain amount of time, and it's proof that it could have been done. And again, the reason why I'm not weighing in on that in a video or a short form video or even putting it on my timeline right now is because I haven't done the time to sit there, and I don't want to argue it to death. Some people will say it's impossible. Other people say it totally is possible. I don't know that I have an opinion on it enough to weigh in on it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of sitting there going, do I sit there and try and make an attempt at the timing and try to figure it out, or do I just kind of let that one lie, which I've been kind of letting it lie? What's the deadline to submit an insanity defense? They mentioned timelines for notice in court. I don't know that. I mean, I would imagine there's still time. We haven't even gotten to the point where we're showing the discovery of what it is officially is being submitted against him and so on. So I don't know. That's a really good question. If there's a timeline for the insanity defense, I'm not sure what it is, so I should, and this would be great if we had Betrus, right? If we had David Betrus on here, he probably could tell us. I don't remember, does he practice law in New York specifically or just somewhere else? But anyways, I don't know if it, state to state, whether there's a difference between the timing on that as well. Yes, the 17th. By the way, Zazoom, you had your comment hidden, so I have to make it approved. You commented the feds need to deliver a grand jury indictment or a preliminary hearing soon. Yes, that's the 17th of February. By the 17th of February, and it really has been delayed. It was, I think, the 18th of January that they had to indict or have a hearing. They asked for more time. I was told, well, the way I understand it, if the defense did not want to grant the prosecution more time, they could have denied it and just said, no, you need to come up with proof or not. But it was my understanding that both sides agreed that an extension of the time was prudent in this case. And so both sides agreed to delay it to the 17th of February. Yeah, as far as the indictment goes, again, what's interesting is the state case is going first, but I think the federal case is the one we're waiting on the 17th, if that's correct. So it's whether the federal government is going to indict him or not, or whatnot. So again, this may speak to what Tulip was saying earlier: is what exactly does the federal government have to prove in order to bring these charges against him when the state has, the superior position and the first position of trying him? Yeah, I mean, and Tulip, this is Tulip's point is you see all the time where mid trial someone changes their plea, right? Or they plead down to something less. Now, in the insanity case, it may be a little different. This is where I would love to talk to a lawyer about it specifically. In the insanity case, it's not like you can say at the beginning of the trial, our client is not insane, has no issues whatsoever, and is totally sane, and we're going to go for this, and then go, you know what, after all, maybe he was insane, we're changing it to insanity. That's a little different than saying, you're going for first degree murder. We don't think you can prove first degree murder, but we'll stop the whole trial and just accept manslaughter or second degree murder if you take death penalty off the table. Those kind of things are a little different. So yeah, and if you're right, and if he pleads insanity, then you're going to have medical doctors climbing up his ass, and you're going to have all kinds of evaluations and probably psychiatric meds, and then the Luigi that everybody knows will be gone. Which I made a video about when I said there was a prison official who was a consultant for prisons who said that he wouldn't be surprised if Luigi is going to be a zombie next time you see him, because they're going to have him on psych meds to deal with the stressful environment of his prison sentence. But nothing of that has been indicated yet. Wait until we see Luigi again and see how coherent he looks. If he looks drugged, there's going to be some issues. I don't know that they would transfer him out of jail. They'd probably give him psychiatric care inside of the prison system. That ding dong sound, I'm going to have to go unplug that if that happens too much. My wife and I are caretakers for somebody who's in the house, and we give them an emergency bell for when they need help, which has never been an emergency. And so hopefully my wife, who knows I'm alive, is taking care of that now. And I forgot to unplug the bell so it wouldn't go off in the middle of my live. And it sounds to me like she did Disco take care of that. So we're good. Thanks again, by the way, for the likes and the shares and the comments and all the things that have happened so far. Again, I'm open for questions. I'm open to take a guest. If somebody wants to come on and ask a question, not just in chat, but in verbal form, you can do that as well. I got about another half hour or so at least that'll be hanging out here. So feel free to say what's on your mind within the realm of community guidelines, of course. Yeah, I would imagine that. I would imagine he sees Karen very regularly, if not daily, probably close to it. Someone said 3 to 4 times a week. That would be probably on the minimum, I would suggest, probably, but the case. But yeah. I mean, for his own mental health, because he's in solitary confinement, or at last I knew he was in solitary confinement, for his own mental health, it behooves his attorney to visit him so he has some visitors and some things to actually do, because seeing his lawyer is something they're not going to deny him. So, do I think that his lawyer will plead insanity? This is a good question. Because before Karen took him as a client, she was asked about this case, apparently, and she claimed before she became his representative that she thought that there was enough evidence against him that he's going to have to plead the insanity plea. And then she became his lawyer. But let's keep in mind that when it came time for the initial plea was not guilty. So, okay, so he has been moved out of solitary confinement. I was wondering about that because I hadn't paid attention to that. Last I knew he was in solitary, but I figured it had been some time and I wasn't sure that was still going to be the case. So, yeah, okay. So now he's on the wing with P. Diddy and where Ghislaine Maxwell used to be. I don't know if anybody knows who Ghislaine Maxwell is. Followed the Jeffrey Epstein story. Oh, so it's been almost a month he's been out of solitary. Okay. See, I'm behind the times. Holy crap. I need to get better at my research because I haven't been following that kind of stuff. So for her, before having the case, he was guilty for her. Yeah. So before she took the case, she indicated that on the initial look, she said that it looked like they had a lot of information against him, and that he was probably going to have, whoever represented him would probably have to go for an insanity plea. So that's the good question. Will that maintain? Will that be what she actually goes for, or does she know something different than she knew then, which I'm sure is more likely the case. I suspect she knows something that we don't know, and that they're going to fight it. But there's a part of me, a small part of me, that's like, will I be 100% surprised if they start to develop the insanity plea? I don't know. Thanks for the gift, by the way. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I would imagine that when she first took him as a client, she probably had a conversation to decide whether or not to take him as a client, and had some conversations about things, and maybe knows some stuff that the rest of us don't know yet. Again, I've theorized that he had kind of a shit-eating grin, a confidence, a cockiness that could be one of two things. Either a man who is confident and comfortable with the decisions that he's made, if he was the one that did it, and he's okay with that, or it has the look of somebody that's like knows something we don't know, and knows that this isn't going to stick, or that's not going to stick to the level that they think it's going to stick, or something like that. So if he had one of those kind of conversations with his lawyer saying, hey, I didn't do it, and I can prove I didn't do it, and they're working that out, maybe that's what's going to happen. If you recall, this is illegal, but if you recall, there was a moment in the, I don't know if you're going to follow this logic. There was a moment in the O.J. Simpson trial that I followed years and decades ago, in which one of his lawyers went into the house of Orenthal James Simpson and came out with a black bag, and no one was allowed to see what was in the bag or know what he took out of OJ's house, because he was his lawyer and he doesn't have to divulge it. And some people said, is it possible that one of his lawyers could have gone into the house and literally grabbed the murder weapon? Like if OJ had done it and OJ said, hey, I hid the weapon, and if you can go in and get rid of it, then there is no weapon. And then one of his lawyers goes into the house and walks out with a bag and says, you can't talk to me about what's in the bag. I attorney-client privilege. There was people that speculated, did one of his lawyers just go in and clean up the evidence? Now, again, extremely unethical. But, if you have a client who tells you something like that, hey, I didn't do it and I have the proof that I didn't do it, how many people will... That was Kardashian. I think it was Kardashian. I think that was the actual lawyer that went into the house and came out with the black bag. It was Kardashian. Pretty sure. That's what my memory serves as well. It didn't hurt O.J. Simpson's case. O.J. Simpson essentially was kind of a jury nullification kind of situation. It was a not guilty, but there's a fine, and that's what I wanted to talk to Dave Betrus about too, is the nuances between not guilty and guilty but no sentence, which is a jury nullification. I saw someone that a lot of times lawyers don't want to know if their client did or not. I would argue this, Gus. I've said this before, and I'll try to not go on a long tangent. The prosecution nor the defense gives zero shit whether or not he's guilty or not. The prosecution's job is to convict that person, period. They don't care whether he did it or not at this point. Their job is to get a conviction, period. The defense, likewise, is to get that person off, whether they did it or not, period. That's their jobs. They're not there to find the truth. Neither side is there to find the truth. They are hired to get a conviction or get him off of a conviction. And it's the jury's job and the judge's job, whichever they're going for, to determine which side made the better argument and make a determination of where the truth lies. But I would argue that neither prosecution or defense really cares whether or not the person did it or not. Their job is to get a conviction or get an acquittal. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if you know your client didn't do it and you 100% know that he didn't do it, then you're gonna be like perhaps more aggressive with it because you're like, I'm not letting. Well, I don't want him. That's all speculation. But you'd think that if you know for a fact, if you have factual evidence that he couldn't have done it, that changes a little bit than the person that you think actually did it, but you're just kind of making the best argument you can to get him off. Yes, the 3D weapon thing is that's come up a lot about the 3D weapons. Apparently, somebody has said there's been only one court case where a 3D ghost gun was part of the whole ballistics thing. It doesn't have a lot of precedent set for ballistics on 3D printed weapons, and so that may be the primary reason why we don't have a lot of information about the ballistics, because it is in a way unprecedented testing ballistics on a 3D printed gun. And the difficulty with some of the difficulties, as I understand it, is that because I was talking to somebody who makes 3D printed stuff all the time and knows a thing about the 3D printed guns. So let's say a 3D printed gun still needs to have a metal barrel for the projectile to go down, right? If it needs a metal barrel, there are more and more places now to get a metal barrel for your 3D printed weapon that isn't serialized, that doesn't have a number and can't be traced. So part of the whole thing with the ballistics is tracing things to the signature and the serial number of the weapon that can say it was manufactured at this date and here's the part number that was in that gun and blah, 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 blah. They can't do that as easily with a 3D printed weapon. So that causes a whole different set of issues. Do defense lawyers sign an NDA when they are hired? So I believe, again, I'm not a lawyer, I believe attorney-client privilege is an understood kind of de facto right, that they don't have to sign an NDA, that it's just understood. Our legal system protects attorney-client privilege. Just like your doctor and a patient has a confidentiality that is understood. Now, in a hospital, you do sign paperwork, but I don't know that you sign a paperwork on it. It's an understood legal representation. You can say whatever you want to your lawyer, and they can't go and say, well, he told me in private that he was guilty. That's just an understood part of the legal system. As I understand it. So what else do we have? Any more kind of questions? I mean, these are great questions. This is, again, we're getting to that point where we have more and more sophisticated legal questions. We need to have not just any lawyer, but a lawyer that comes on who is sympathetic to the questions and doesn't go, it doesn't show an obvious bias for the outcome, because it's hard to take somebody's opinion if you know they're biased already to one side or the other. What would be nice is having a kind of neutral person who's like, well, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care how it turns out. I'll just answer your questions as best I can. So maybe we'll get lucky enough to have that kind of conversation in the future. Maybe it will take some major event legally to come out in which we can be like, hey, can you talk to us about that? So yeah, I'm excited about the possibility of getting some somebody on where we can get some again, I want the right kind of lawyer to come on, somebody who's not biased on the case one way or another, but is kind of neutral. Yeah, the photos are sketchy. Somebody told me today, everybody is biased to some extent, yeah. Somebody told me today, and I can't remember who it was in private message to me, that they found a photo of Luigi Mangione, supposedly, and the photo and compared it to the photo of him in the McDonald's, the one McDonald's photo we've seen, and said it's the exact same photo, only it's been manipulated. And so I've asked for that information. I said, if you can show me this, I would love to see it. If you've got a photo that clearly is the same exact photo and they're taking an old photo from something else and then doctoring it, because some people have stated that AI was used to manipulate the thing. Somebody pointed out that the hand size, for example, in the picture is an obscenely large hand size. And one thing that they pointed out was AI is notorious. AI images are notorious for distorting hands. And so they're like, this is an AI generated thing. And the kind of evidence is the fact that the hand is out of proportion and blah, 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 blah. Again, I haven't weighed in on a short form video or even a long form video. So this is the first time I'm kind of talking about it. But if indeed there is a video, if indeed there's a photo out there that shows Luigi's face essentially identically as what we saw in the McDonald's, I would like to see that. Also, the road when he was outside taxi, it wasn't on the way to the bus, it was at opposite. I didn't read that sentence probably correctly. I don't know about you, but I felt like the photo at the McDonald's didn't look like Luigi. It almost looked, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it almost looked like his face was kind of fat, his nose was fatter, like his face looked different. It looked off to me, and I was just taking their word for it that it's Luigi, because I'm like, well, how would they have the balls to take a picture of somebody else and put it out there and say, this is Luigi? And I'm like, it's got to be Luigi. I mean, it's got to be. But man, the face looks off. It's like the weight of the person is 20 pounds heavier or something. I don't know. Something just seems off about that photo to me. But again, I don't like to hang my hat on this is not the same guy. You can clearly say these pictures are different, because too many times it's, then you get into the finite things. You're like, well, camera angles and lighting and blah, blah, blah plays tricks. And that's probably all true. But the question we have to ask is, if they're manipulating photos, how do they figure that they can get away with that? How do they figure that the defense is not going to take all those photos and tear that shit apart? Like, if I were his defense lawyer, I would imagine I would want to prove that those photos are or aren't my guy, and I would be having experts come in, expert testimony to say, tell me that this is the same facial pattern as this person, that the ears match, that the smiles match, that dimples match, and that indeed is the same person. And I would have an expert say that's not the same person. On the photo, there is a tag behind and on the street where they said the picture was taken there. The photos will need to be given to the metadata. Yeah, metadata can be manipulated, unfortunately. I know that. So the question becomes is whether or not the metadata can be trusted. But yes, every photo has metadata. That metadata hopefully will be intact and hasn't been altered. But there are tools to edit the metadata. So who knows? But I would, again, if there's any question to whether or not those photos are him, the defense is probably going to bring in expert testimony to say that those two photos don't match. And in fact, many people were saying they themselves have run the photos through facial recognition programs, and the facial recognition programs that are available to the public say it's not the same guy. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think David Betrus basically did some kind of special about the shoes, and I didn't get to see it. I heard him tease it. He's like, there's something about the shoes. I'm going to tell you about the shoes. And then I didn't hear it. To be fair, I haven't climbed through his profile to see all the videos that I've missed of his. But whenever I open my TikTok, it seems like I got another video from David and I watch his stuff. All great questions and comments tonight. Appreciate this lively discussion. We've got 5,000 views or likes. That's awesome. 14 concurrent users, pretty good considering we've taken off, a week or whatever before coming back. So I'm glad to see that we still have a little bit of an audience watching. And I have this restricted. Before I didn't restrict it to 18 and over, and now I'm restricted to 18 and over, and we still have a good turnout. So that's been very cool. It was walking with just socks on. Oh, yes, I did see that. About how he was walking with just socks on. So where are the shoes? What did they do with the shoes? Now that you mentioned that, I did see him comment on that. So I did see that. I was expecting to say something about the white sole of the shoe and how it may or may not match up with other photos that he's in those shoes and whatever. And maybe that's why I didn't remember it. But I do remember him talking about being just in socks and then asking the question, what happened with the shoes? Why did they keep the shoes? It's interesting stuff. And it's hard for a lot of people to accept the idea that law enforcement will go to lengths to fabricate evidence or make sure that they pin something on somebody. But unfortunately, I think it happens more than we think. I didn't know if I told everybody or not. As an aside, there was everybody kept telling me that my Luigi Shuffle and Player One videos reminded them of how to blow up a pipeline. And so I just watched a couple nights ago How to Blow Up a Pipeline and did some research about the book How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I don't remember if we discussed that. Yeah, the Adnan Syed case was an awesome case. I listened to multiple podcasts about Adnan, and yeah, that and How to Make a Murderer. Is that what it was on Netflix? The special about Avery. That video, that documentary had actual like police on audio talking about essentially planting evidence and making sure that he went down for that, whether he did it or not. That was crazy. I think it happens a lot more than we think. And again, you could almost but you could almost understand why they're motivated to plant evidence, because I'm sure a lot of police, a lot of law enforcement watch people who are bad people walk off and get away with things because they have a good lawyer or a mistake was made. And so you could imagine that somebody in law enforcement would get to the point where they're like, I'm tired of watching these people walk over a silly mistake. I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen this time. This person's guilty as F. And he needs to go down for it. So I'm just going to make sure that if there's any area that's sketchy in the evidence, I'm going to make it a little less sketchy. But in doing so, they're not trusting the legal system and they're not allowing the legal system to play out. They're like, if I allow it to be shown that we don't know exactly where this came from, it's going to blow this whole case. So I'm going to make sure it looks like it's in the right place where it needs to be, because I'm not letting this guy walk away with this. We know he did it. Because there's a lot of law enforcement who believe we already know you did it. And now we just got to make sure we prove it in a court of law. I always think about The Wire and how obsessed leadership is with their numbers. I have faith that Karen Agnifilo wouldn't take the case unless it's to go the distance for a not guilty. I don't know a lot about Karen other than everybody claims that she's a top-notch lawyer. I don't know. Here's where I'm iffy about it. So her husband, Mark, is representing P. Diddy. I think almost everyone feels like at the end of the day, P. Diddy is absolutely guilty of a lot of things that he's accused of. So then it would beg the question, why would Mark Agnifilo represent P. Diddy if he knows his client is probably guilty of the things that he's done? One can argue, and I don't know the Agnifilos, I don't know what their morals are, that whether you've got a shitty client or a good client, it's big money. These clients are worth a F ton of money. So if you like big paydays and you like to be at the center of attention and on TV every day, whether your client's guilty or not doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're getting paid. So do they care? Do they really care whether or not the person's guilty or not? Or are they taking big high profile cases because it's high profile, gets them a lot of attention? And if you get lucky enough to get a high profile case off, then you're set forever. One could say that that's the whole reason. They don't really care whether they're guilty or not. These are high profile cases that are going to make a crap ton of money. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. The Diddy case, by the way, is super interesting to me. I feel frustrated because I can't talk about Diddy on TikTok because literally the crimes that Diddy is accused of are words we can't say. So then I have to use all these ridiculous, childish sounding words to try to explain what Diddy's even accused of. And I hate playing that game, which is why I have personally been trying to move towards long form videos on YouTube. There's a little less restrictive, and Patreon, although Patreon, like I said, is not allowing me to have an account for some suspicious reason. So we're working all that out where we can maybe be more free to discuss things. Because we definitely have a war going on in our country, in my opinion, in free speech space and what it means to have free speech. All right, so I got about 10 more minutes. Any more questions in the last 10 minutes or so that we're doing? I want to also, again, thank everyone for coming tonight that's come in and participated. I really appreciate the support, the gifts, the encouragement. All of those things are helpful for me to keep doing this, and I hope that we will find better topics to discuss so that we can have a more profitable discussion. I will try to make another attempt to reach out to Betris about doing a live with them, but he's super busy, so I don't want to bug him a lot. Our conversation kind of died out. I didn't want to bug him a lot, so I asked a couple questions. He answered my questions, and then I stopped asking him more questions because I didn't want to dominate his time. I know he's a busy guy. But again, he seems to do lives, so if anybody can reach out to him and say that you'd be interested in having him talk, that would be amazing. Any more questions, comments? Thanks for the likes and helping us out. Super appreciate it. Sorry if my slapping the little chair here is annoying. I didn't mean to be annoying on that. But anyways, yeah, let me know if you got some more questions, comments, concerns. We got about 9 more minutes or so that I'll, at a minimum, I'll hang out. I could be inclined to go a little longer if I get on a rant, because I do tend to get on rants from time to time. But if we don't have anything, oh my gosh, why am I yawning so much? Whew. Thank you so much, Mifo. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really, you've been a diehard since the beginning, I think, of our channel. So thank you so much. And Stella as well. Both of you are around all the time. Send me some private messages, those things. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I still can't find why he had a fake ID, or did police say that the ID was the same from the hostel? The hostel, I'm assuming. So not only did they say the ID was the same from the hostel, but they also said the name, Michelle. Michelle, okay, I'm going to try to remember that, Michelle, so I can just refer to you as Michelle. That would be great. So let's see if I can lock that in. I'm horrible with names, but if I say it a few more times, Michelle, I think I'll get it down. Anyways, so yeah, they did confirm that the Mark Rosario was the ID used at the hostel in New York. They also pointed out in one of the mini documentaries about Luigi that the same Mark Rosario name was used in San Francisco at a hostel. I think he was there shortly before coming to New York in November or something like that. So yeah, that ID had been used a few times. Would you prefer me to use your Mifo name, if that's how I pronounce it, or would you prefer Michelle, or you don't care one way or another? I just want to be respectful in which way you want to be referred to. So yeah, those are great questions. Like I said, I had pointed out Rosario. I have pointed out that what was the first name? Was it Mike Rosario or Mark Rosario? Shoot, now I'm all of a sudden blanking. My memory sucks. Anyways, Mark Rosario. sounds a little like Mario, right? Doesn't it? So then the question becomes, is that done on purpose? Was that done on purpose? Is that another Easter egg? Because I see potential for Easter eggs all through this. The Monopoly money was an Easter egg. The 286 was an Easter egg. Clear Easter eggs, in my opinion. So if he's going to do Easter eggs, if he is going to do, or whoever is going to do Easter eggs, wouldn't Mark Rosario be an interesting Mario synonym to suggest that there is someone else involved? Or is it just an inside joke? The whole thing's a big inside joke. Do you think that the Rosario was supposed to present Luigi's ID? I don't. My guess. I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question, but my guess is if there was multiple conspirators, and we'll say that Mario is that other is so Luigi's in jail and Mario was, let's, in my theory, and Mario was the actual person who committed the event. Mario's gone, got away with it, right? And Luigi took the fall. Now, let me point out why that is a reference to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. The premise of the movie How to Blow Up a Pipeline is a bunch of younger generation kids in their 20s decide that they're tired of environmentalism and the damage that big corporations like oil companies and stuff like that do, where people get sick and they get cancer and they die of things, also that the company can make profit. And so a group of young folk decided that legislation doesn't do anything, talking doesn't do anything, everything's too slow and people are dying now. Something needs to be done. And so they worked together to blow up an oil pipeline and to hurt that company where it really hurt them, in the pocketbook. And there was two important things that came out to how the Luigi case plays out and why everybody sees the similarities between How to Blow Up a Pipeline and Luigi's case. The question keeps getting asked to me, well, if your theory is right that there's other conspirators, why would Luigi take the fall? Why would he go to jail for the rest of your life? That's exactly what the premise of How to Blow Up a Pipeline is about. One person decided amongst them that they were going to take the fall for everything so that the rest of them can go free and continue to do the work. And their hope was that they were going to inspire a sentiment, a wave of similar actions in America by watching how it worked and how it could be done. And so one person decided in How to Blow Up a Pipeline to take the fall for everyone so that everyone else got away with it. So I've theorized, is it possible Luigi gave himself up because he was in on something bigger, a bigger idea, a bigger conspiracy, and that he, by taking the fall, all the feds want, and this was said in How to Blow Up a Pipeline as well, all the feds want is they want to be able to tell everybody they got the bad guy and put him away. That's all they want. They want their shiny little person that they can say, we got the bad guy, we always get the bad guy, they're going to jail for the rest of their life. Done. You're safe. That's what they want at the end of the day. So in the movie, they're like, let's just give them that. Let's give them the one person so they can have their little victory that they got it. But all the conspirators that pulled it off go free and can do it again. Do you think Mario was maybe supposed to show Luigi's ID? That's the part I'm not sure what you mean. Like, was Mario supposed to at some point show an ID that had Luigi's name on it? I got to do a verification to prove that I'm still here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't think we're ever going to hear from Mario. I think Mario's gone. I think if there's a Mario, I believe if there's a Mario, I believe Mario may hit again. And that was the whole purpose of this, is to make sure Mario got away, if you will. There's a lot of theories, Misho. There's a lot of theories about the birth date. I've heard another one where the birth date was related to something in the health industry and a certain legislation that was going to pass but didn't pass and whatever. And so I haven't been able to feel confident pinning. But I will say this: I feel like there's Easter eggs all through this. So the birth date may indeed be an Easter egg of some kind. But the two or so theories I've heard about the birth date just don't ring true enough for me to hang my hat on it. If it was juicier, if it really felt like there was something to it, I'd be all over it. But 1998. Yes, 1998. So, anyways, I haven't jumped on the birth date yet. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the birth date is an Easter egg of some kind itself. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's searching for someone. That's a good observation. I'm not sure. I think I have a lot of thoughts, but it could be all speculation. And I want to be fair with things. There's a possibility that I'm what people say I am sometimes. My critics will say I'm just somebody with too much time on my hand and an internet connection, and I need to stop. I'm making shit up. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm making shit up. Maybe there's nothing here. Maybe it's just as simple as what it says. But I can't help myself when I see things that man, what if someone traded places in Central Park? And that's where I went. That's the first place I went. Well, if they lost him off the cameras for quite some time, and then somebody who's kind of dressed like him, but not identical, and everybody's saying it's not the same backpack, it's not the same coat, it's not the same this, it's not the same guy. I'm like, well, what if there was a switcheroo in Central Park? They were literally off camera together. They would have went dark and had time to make a switch. I have to ask myself that question and follow where it goes. And so far, that theory hasn't been disproven. I don't believe that theory has been disproven, that there couldn't have been more than one conspirator and that they just simply switched places in the park. And that the real perpetrator walked out the park undetected because all attention was on the e-bike and a guy that looked like him leaving the park. And everybody assumed that was the guy, and all hands on deck on that guy, and the real guy walks away. So it's been about an hour. I think that when I don't have a topic in mind, I'm going to leave things to just about an hour. Thanks, Misho, for the gifts as well. So appreciated. We're working hard to try to build something here. I feel like our account is a little stifled. It's been stuck at 4,600 followers for forever. So I'm hoping that we can move the needle, but there really hasn't been anything that I've said that's resonated with anybody, or it's being suppressed. I don't know. Probably more that I just haven't said anything that resonates with people yet. So we'll see where that goes. But all the help we can get, the better, because the more people talking about it, the better for all of us. And Misho, again, I don't know if you know this, but my lives are recorded and reposted on YouTube at Devil's Advocates channel on YouTube. And I try to have that up the same night they're recorded. So if you have time tomorrow and you want to catch the live, or you can't make it some night, try to go to my YouTube channel, go to my website, devilsadvocates.info. And we also have links right there on the Devil's Advocate website that just you can direct click on the YouTube video. So I will have that up tonight, sometime later tonight. Probably it takes a couple hours. It takes usually takes about an hour after the live is done for the video to become available for me to download, and then it has some processing on my end to get it uploaded to YouTube and processed on that side. So that's usually about another hour. So a couple hours from now, you should see tonight's live up there. Although I don't feel like tonight's live was all that good. I'm almost hesitant whether or not tonight's live should go up. It didn't have a lot of punch to it, tonight. But I just want to make a habit of getting those lives up there for people like you who are pushing it to be on here this late at night. In fact, I should shut up so you can go to bed. It's late for you. So thank you all again for coming. Thank you all again for the super words of encouragement. Those who told me that they've been looking forward to this live, and that they appreciate this live, and that they're great lives. If you want to reach out to I'm going to be looking for specific topics. So anyways, if you have topic ideas too, let me know, and I'll do a topic hopefully on something very specific. So again, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up for tonight. I just keep rambling. It's been awesome seeing you all. Thank you, and have a good night.